Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today we are chatting about the East Anglia Yarn Festival, an event that I went to with my wife again this year, at time of recording last week, and I thought I would share my experience from this year just as I did from last year. A lot's changed in a year, and I think it's important to kind of present an update, I think. Uh, we'll also take a look at some of the stuff that both my wife and I bought. So if that's more your kind of thing, this video will have timestamps so you can skip to that section. But if you're new to the channel, coming through from East Anglia Yarn Festival, welcome. I hope you enjoy this video. If you're one of my regular subscribers and you've never really heard of East Anglia Yarn Festival, I'd definitely say go check out last year's video, which will be linked down below. But for a quick summary, it's essentially very kind of like a conference, but for yarn in some ways. In other ways, not so much. My previous video kind of, I think, breaks down the differences quite well. But it's a get-together of people of all things yarn and the huge community that is around that. So it's very interesting for me as someone that's fascinated in communities and fascinated in kind of connections and how people come together to see a different world, to see a world outside of tech. So that's kind of what we're going to be talking about. Now, I did get a little bit of footage this time around. Last year, I didn't get any footage. This year, I managed to get some clips. Not enough, not as many as I was hoping. I was kind of hoping this would be more of a vlog, as I have vlogged, with a lot of other conferences. I was hoping I'd be able to do that for this. However, it was just so busy, so manic, so much to do that it just didn't happen. And by the time I had time on the Sunday, kind of felt like I'd missed out on the busiest time anyway. So I thought it'd be better to have another sit down style video, chat, and I'll put some clips in as we go as well. Last year's video was pretty well received. I think lots of people liked it. Started lots of interesting conversations as well. And I think that's a key here. These are just my views. They're no one else's views, my observations. You're entitled to have your own views, your own observations, and my views might be wrong. They're just what I'm seeing from where I'm standing. So hopefully we can continue a good conversation this time round. I think where I want to start is definitely by saying thank you to the organizer. Laura has been absolutely amazing. It still blows my mind that she's essentially organizing this by herself. I know she has lots of friends around her. I know she has lots of volunteers. I know she has her family. But ultimately, the responsibility lies just on her. I think that's the key. You can have as much help as you like, but unless you're a business that's doing this, ultimately, if things go wrong, if there are issues, it lands on you. And that is a huge responsibility. I would never recommend anyone tries to run an event of this size by themselves, but she manages to do it, and she did an amazing job. So I do want to start off by saying thank you very much, because it was a really great weekend. It was a very successful weekend for us, and there was a lot of positivity and a lot of good things that both have changed from last year and remained from last year. So really great to see. My only input here would be, please get some co-organizers for next year or some extra help, because it's a lot of work. It's crazy. And you were definitely very busy over the weekend. Throughout the weekend, we felt like we always had the help we needed and could go and find Laura if we had any issues, which is very impressive. So again, I can't say enough. Thank you very much. So now let's take a look at the venue itself. This was at the Norfolk Showground, which is the same venue as last year. However, the venue itself has had some really notable upgrades, which has helped the event as a whole. It was really great to see those upgrades utilized. I don't know if they cost extra to use. Quite often that's the case. But either way, it was great to see them utilized. Essentially, there was a load of new rooms that had been built onto the side of the building, which meant there were brand new toilets, which were very nice. And I know a lot of people were raving about how nice the toilets were. Of course, also, that meant that the old toilets were still there as well, And the new ones are kind of at the back of the venue, which I definitely saw that they were a lot quieter. So I think for vendors and people that are just trying to get away a little bit, there was definitely more access to toilets than last year, which is super good to see. Another thing that was a great addition was the introduction of a quiet room. I think last year there wasn't really the space for it. Perhaps another room or place on the venue, like campus, I guess, could have been used, but there wasn't anywhere in the actual building particularly that would have actually been quiet. This time there was a dedicated room. I didn't actually go in there. I didn't do any filming because I wanted to respect the privacy of anyone that was using it, but it was there, and that was really great to see. It was kind of another good tick towards accessibility. Another great thing that really helped the vendors was the fact that there was a vendor kitchen this time. I think last time there was this is always an issue, I think, at events when you're vending, running a booth, whatever it is, when you're working at an event, it's hard to find time to eat. And so you either have to try and grab food from the event, which is what we did, but there was two of us, so we could do that. Most people can't do that because they're vending by themselves, and they don't want to leave their stall. They don't want to miss out on sales, and they also don't want to obviously leave their stuff alone. So you either have to take that risk, find someone to watch your stall for a while, and then go join the queue and go through all that, or you have to try and bring something that you can just eat at your booth, and that's not really great either. I'm kind of a fan of, if you can, stepping away to eat. It's a good break for you as a person, and I think as well, it's just in my opinion, slightly more professional if you're not eating on the booth. Again, we did. It's not a problem, but it's good to kind of be able to take that break. And the reason why I bring that up is this year there was a vendor kitchen. So one of the other new buildings, or rooms added onto the building, I should say, was a kitchen, which meant that vendors had somewhere that they could go to take a break, to make a tea, to stick something in the microwave, to do any of these things, which meant they had a dedicated space away from other people. And I think a lot of successful events do this. Just giving your vendors or the people that are running workshops or your speakers, the people that are working at the event, giving them a place that they can just stop for a minute in an otherwise very busy and crowded day is super good. I think it's a great thing to do and really helps look after those people, which ultimately those people are the ones that are making the event successful. So yeah, it's nice to see. I think that is another great addition to the venue that was also very well utilized. Now, talking about food in general, again, there were upgrades. The cafe that we had last year now had access to a kitchen as well. There was a kind of an actual kitchen that had a shutter that they could use and they could serve food out of, which meant that there was definitely improvements to what was on offer there, which was great to see as well. There were new food vendors. There was a new coffee van, I guess. It was actually like a horse box, but coffee stall, which did very nice coffee, and pastries and stuff, which was a nice addition. And then there was also this corn, like kettle corn. Now, when I first saw it, I was like, "It's a bit of an odd one. It's a bit weird, isn't it? A bit of a strange addition." But genuinely, after I tried some of their corn, my God, that is the best corn I have ever had in my life. And I was speaking to the guy for a while. He's from the US, and he actually was saying how he imports all his whole grain corn. It's a specific breed that works best for kettle corn. He uses all the best ingredients, and it really shows. Not sponsored in any way, but do go check them out. They have a website because it's some of the best corn I've ever had. And actually made quite a nice snack. Not too unhealthy, quite light, and just something that you could nibble on. I really liked it actually. So yeah, bit of a left field one, I thought, but really good and actually worked very well. So props to them as well. So it was good to see a little bit of expansion on the food offerings of last year. The other thing that I think I saw a lot more this year was more variety in the stalls themselves. Again, this could just be my impression. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there isn't much more variety, but it just felt like the items on sale were of a bigger variety. Obviously, loads of yarn, all the yarn you could ever need in every shade humanly possible. But there were other items as well, every accessory you could possibly need, a huge range of different types of stitch markers, huge range of different needles and buttons and bits and pieces. I don't know what they are, but there was loads of it, and I think that was kind of cool to see as well. Uh, like I said, I don't know if that was just kind of my impression of this year, but it definitely felt like there was a bigger range of stuff, which is nice, I think. I think it made it more interesting to look around anyway. I also noticed that a lot more of the vendors weren't vending on their own, which is a really great thing to see. This goes back to the whole like, don't run an event on your own, don't vend on your own if you can help it. Because again, it's a lot of work for one person. A whole weekend of standing there talking to loads of people, you know, helping them, getting stock sorted, setting the stand up, taking it down again. So many things that really having someone else with you is going to make it so much easier. You can take breaks, you can just kind of share the workload. So I think it was good to see that more people were kind of there with their partners and other people to lessen the load a bit. I guess as well, it was probably a sign of how successful the event is for a lot of people. They felt that they could afford to have someone second, whether they were paying them or just using their time. Definitely, it's good to see because yeah, I think for a 2-day event, trying to do it on your own is an awful lot of work. And props to anyone that does because I certainly couldn't. Definitely good to see more help there. And then as well, I think one of the things that I really liked was that the event was bigger this year. There were more vendors, but there weren't massively more vendors. Laura has done a very good job at finding the balance between allowing as many people to vend with the different products and the better range and enough things for people to explore, but also keeping stalls big enough, space wide enough that people can get around the stalls, gap between each row big enough that you can get plenty of people up and down the row. So even though on the Saturday it was incredibly busy, it was non-stop, absolutely crazy. It was amazing to see, but it never felt crowded. It was obviously it got crowded around particular stalls if people come along and they're like, oh, what are they looking at? I want to see too. Obviously, there were big crowds around stalls, but actually around the venue, getting round, moving about, it never felt crowded. You could easily get 4 or 5 people down a road, shoulder to shoulder. So there was always enough space. And I think that was a really important thing. And I think as well, it's worth noting here that I'm pretty sure she's said they won't be increasing the number of people that can vend next year, specifically for this point, to make sure that it remains an accessible location. So that's really great. And I think definitely cool to see that kind of balance being found because that's something that not every event manages to achieve, either because the building itself doesn't allow it or just in general, they don't necessarily get the balance right. So it's still very good to see. And while the Saturday was incredibly busy, it opened at 10:30. Now, I'm pretty sure last year it opened earlier, and it just felt to me that they could have maybe opened half an hour earlier to help with getting people through the door. I didn't manage to get any video myself, but from other videos that we've seen, there was a big queue at the start of the day. And I believe some people maybe got confused about their tickets and when they could actually enter, and maybe they were coming a bit too early. But I think maybe just having the day a little bit longer, at least on that Saturday, could really help with the amount of traffic. And maybe if you stretch it out a little bit more, you can have more slots, less people are showing up at each slot, but more people can get through the door overall. Just seems like maybe, especially considering the venue is open the day before for vendors to set up, it feels like it's unnecessarily late in the day. But maybe she's had feedback and maybe that's what people in general wanted. I don't know. But just for me, it seemed like maybe could have been a bit earlier. And then, of course, the other issue that we had this year was the same as last year, that it was on Mother's Day weekend. And the Sunday was very slow. I think for us personally, we saw significantly less people and we took significantly less. And it kind of brought me back to the whole, well, is this worth being a 2-day event? Would a 1-day event be more beneficial because you're essentially halving your costs? You've got one less hotel night, you've got less time for, if you've got pets or childcare or anything else. So maybe it would be worth it. I was kind of shooting this thought with a few people, and someone made the great point that actually, obviously, if you've got to travel a significant distance, 1-day events is much harder. So even if that 1 day is incredibly successful, and you sell as much as 2 days, you're probably still going to have to stay overnight, the extra night, and you're probably still not going to have that kind of ability to rest as much. So maybe it has to be a 2-day event, and also, of course, also next year, it won't be on Mother's Day weekend anymore because we're now far enough. Like Laura was able to book far enough ahead. It's no longer Mother's Day weekend, so it will be incredibly interesting to see what next year's Sunday is going to be like. In order to expect the second day of an event, pretty much no matter what the event is, to be quieter because people want to come when it's new, when it's fresh, straight away. They want to, especially when it's something that's related to a lot of like buying of things. They want to be there to get the best stuff straight away. So there's always going to be a busier time on the first day, but I think having it not on Mother's Day weekend will help, and I think the Sunday will be more balanced. And maybe there'll be ways to balance it slightly more, so there are less tickets sold on the Saturday, or maybe the Sunday tickets are slightly cheaper and encourage some people to go on the Sunday. Don't know, but I think there's definitely some improvements that we'll see there come next year. And I think really that's all I had to add for this year. I think all the changes that have happened are all positive ones. I was thinking about this and trying to think about if there was anything that I could think that was changed that I could still see improving. And I think I can't. I think realistically, everything that was changed for the better. And that's a good thing. Obviously, this is still a very young event. This is only the third one, I believe. So it's good to see progress being made and improvements being made every year. It's great to see. Right, well, I think that all said and done, let's have a look at some of the stuff that my wife bought and a few bits that I bought as well. Let's check it out. Okay, so while we still have a bit of light, clouds are moving in, let's take a look at some goodies. There was quite a lot of cool stuff, so we definitely got some interesting bits. I'll try and link people down below. I will, of course, ask my wife and try and credit as many people as possible because that was some really cool stuff, I must admit. I loved it. I'm actually going to start with one thing that I did buy. So this is a neon yellow. It's called Glow Stick from Cool Woolings. And I'm going to have my wife make a hat of this because I think this is just amazing. One thing that you might not know about me is that I am incredibly colorblind. I am both blue-purple and red-green colorblind. So don't actually see all that many colors. So whenever I see something that's just bright and really clearly defined as a color for me, like yellow, I love it. This just looks amazing to me. So I had to get this and I have to make a hat out of it. Next up, we have a couple of Stardew Valley inspired yarns from Chromatic Yarns. Now, I'm pretty sure my wife bought this one, which is Maya Lewis's Lucky Shorts. And then I went back and got this one, which is Night Market. I think these are really great colors. I really like the sparkle that's in them as well. And I mean, I'm a big fan of Stardew Valley. I think it's a very cool game. Looking forward massively for the update, which is supposed to come out tomorrow. So very much looking forward to that as well. So this was a kind of yarn that I just had to get, but very cool. Next up, we have this called Beanie Babies by James Makes Yarn, and it's like fluffy yarn. I really like this colorway. I really like this type of yarn as well. For me personally, it's not something I've kind of seen much before. I'm not a yarn expert at all. That's my wife's business, but I like looking at it and squishing it. And I just thought this was very cool as well. So yes, had to get this. And then from Giddy Yarns, my wife got the East Anglia Yarn Festival show special, which is called Yarn Fumes, and they're like minis, so mini skeins of yarn. Really like the colours in that. I thought they were very cool. And then my wife saw this and had to get it. It's a rainbow pastel headband of little sheeps from a company called Sheepy Things, and they make all things sheep related. Very cool. Well worth looking at their website if you want to pick up anything. And this was just quite cool as well. Like this a lot. And then this was a yarn from the Yarn Badger. I picked this one out because I really liked the colours that I could see in this. It's called Howl's Secret Garden. And yeah, it's just a really amazing colour to me. Loved it. So next up we have like a sheep bag. He's called Simon and he's made by Stitch by Mrs. D, I believe. Very cute little bag. I know my wife was very excited to see her and grab one of these bags as well. And then I'm not sure if I can get it all on camera, but we got one of these very cool baskets. And these are actually, there's a little info tag here, which I'm pretty sure explains it. Yes. So this beautiful basket was skillfully made by hand in Ghana. Each basket is made from grass which grows wild. It is gathered, prepared, and coloured with natural dyes, making it completely biodegradable. Every basket is unique. And it's just a very cool basket, very well made, and kind of supporting women in Ghana. So very cool indeed. Next up, we have another bag here, project bag that my wife picked up from Josie Rose. I'm pretty sure she got something from her last year as well. Really loved it. Had to pick up another one. And it's kind of a light tie-dye. I really like that one as well. Can't see all the colours, but it looks cool. It looks cool. Big fan. Then she did also pick up a crochet pattern. This is a shawl by Diana Benstead at the Crochet Chain, and looked very cool. I'm pretty sure they had an example of it that we saw. Might be wrong, but it looked very cool. Next up, we have a yarn bowl here from Emily Cross. These are one of the first things we ever bought at a yarn festival. I think it was at Yarndale in like 2017. Was a yarn bowl from her. I bought it for my wife, so we got her a new one this year as well. Very similar actually to the one she already had, but slightly bigger, and you know, it needed a friend. So next up we have 3 handmade stitch markers from Flame Knit, who makes glass blown stitch markers. We have a little duck here, a little pokeball, and a little black cat. And then the Die Shack had some avocado needlepoint protectors. For those that know, I'm kind of obsessed with avocados. It's a little bit of a kind of department joke that developer advocates are avocados. There's a story behind it, but basically that's what we call ourselves. So this kind of fit well, and we had to get these. And finally, another thing from Giddy Yarns that I kind of completely forgot about were these cute little needle minders as well. Little bees, very cute. And that's everything. So we are gonna wrap it up there. I hope you enjoyed taking a look at the things that we got, as well as kind of my thoughts on the event. And I hope you enjoyed the little bit of footage I did get as well. But still, thank you much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed today's video. And if you have, please do hit that like button. Do make sure to subscribe as well. Well on our way to that 1,000 subscriber goal. So please do hit that subscribe button. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.